Hello, I'm Ruth, and welcome back to This Is How We Roll. This week's episode is called Independence versus Assistance, and it's looking at times when you may want to do something by yourself and times when you need to ask for help, and kind of how to differentiate between those different times. So we're going to go over the four main things I look at before I make a decision about whether I want to do something by myself or whether I want to ask for help. These are not in all cases, obviously. Sometimes it's a split-second decision, but sometimes, especially in newer situations, I do have to think about a couple of things, and I feel like these things that I think about will be helpful to any other person with a disability of any kind. Not all of these little things will apply to all situations, but most of them will apply to most situations. So first of all, and most importantly, it's accomplishment versus danger. So when you're thinking about this, you have to think about the worst possible thing that could happen. For example, let's say I wanted to try taking myself to the bathroom. The worst possible thing that could happen is that I fall. And to me, that's not worth it because it would be very difficult to get back up. I may be hurt in different ways when I am back up, which may affect future transfers and stuff, so therefore it would not be worth it to me. Another thing I look at is accomplishment versus time. So how much time is it going to take me to accomplish what I want to? So I have a lot of dresses that tie at the front with 2 strings and you tie them into a little bow. And for me, I have to think about, if I wanted to do that myself, it would take me about, 45 minutes. And is it worth it that I spend all that time trying to tie the bow when my assistant could probably do it in 45 seconds? And to you, this answer might be yes. You might feel that you want to prove to yourself that you can do it. Or I often feel that way in a lot of situations myself. And in that case, I encourage you to go for it. But if you don't want to spend all that time on a small task, or you're on a schedule, then you may have to ask your assistant for help. Another thing I look at is accomplishment versus energy. So one time I wanted to pull my backpack up from the floor and get out my books by myself. It took me a lot of energy, but I did it because I wanted to prove to myself that I could. And when you're making a decision like accomplishment versus energy, you have to think, is it worth it for you to do this task and expend all that energy, or is it not? And again, it's a very personal decision. Sometimes it may be yes, and sometimes it may be no. But you have to pay attention to what other things you have to do in your day. Do you have energy to expend on doing that task yourself, or do you not? The last thing I look at is accomplishment versus consequence. And this is kind of like accomplishment versus danger, but it's a little bit different because it's kind of on a lower grade scale. For example, the top of my shoulders and back are almost always pulled, and that's because I reach through things myself way more than I should because I have Harrington rods over most of my spine, so the part that is free is being pulled and strained a lot. To me, that's a worth it thing. It's worth it to me to reach through things by myself and get things, stretch for things, knowing that my back at the top there is kind of always gonna hurt a little bit and ache. But that's just a decision I made in my life, and you may have to make this decision over the same thing or over different things, but weigh up, what are you going to be achieving versus what are you going to be losing? Like, how much hurt is it going to cause you? And that may be physically, emotionally, financially in some cases. So you just have to kind of weigh it up, I suppose. Of all of the things, if you want to try something by yourself, don't let time stand in your way. Because, okay, you might be on a schedule, right now, like me getting to college and at college, there's a schedule I have to keep to make sure I'm getting on the bus on time, getting to my classes on time, getting to the bus to come home on time. But let's say I want to put the buttons in my jacket myself. Okay, I might not be able to do that while I'm on my schedule, but when I come home after college, there's no reason why I can't try to do that by myself. Also, if you're an assistant to someone with a disability and they say they want to try something by themselves, the person you're assisting says that, and you don't have time right now, you can, say to them, we don't have time right now because we're on a schedule, but, offer them another time when they can try it by themselves if they would like to. Finally, I want to encourage you guys to try things by yourself. Try new things by yourself all the time, under the one condition that it is safe. But weighing up the other things we talked about in your mind, if you have time, a little extra time, if you have a little extra energy, and if you think the consequence, whatever it may be, is worth it, then try things by yourself as often as you can. Because that's how I've learned to do so much by myself. Like, I literally just got annoyed with having people pick things up off the floor for me. So before I got a tool to pick things up by myself, I was actually MacGyvering other ways of doing that, and it was helpful, and I felt very accomplished. That's another thing, trying things by yourself gives you a huge sense of accomplishment. And the more you try something, the easier it becomes. So you will likely gain more abilities as you get out there and try to do things by yourself. But the one thing you must never, ever, ever do is try something if it is going to be dangerous. But other than that, try things all the time, just as long as you are safe and you're going to stay healthy throughout the process. So that's it for this episode. Thank you for watching. And until next time, remember, we're all different, so just roll with it.